Alright, so DLSS 5 has officially been revealed, and I don't think I've seen a graphics technology split the gaming community this hard in a long time. Seriously, you've got one side calling it the future, saying this is the next true leap in visual fidelity, something that pushes games closer to photorealism than we've ever seen before. And then on the other side, you've got people who are looking at this and going, wait a minute, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't look right. This feels like AI is stepping in and changing things that maybe it shouldn't be touching at all. And right in the middle of all of this noise, all of this hype, all of this backlash, we finally get a take that actually slows things down and looks at what's really going on here from someone who absolutely knows what they're talking about. We're talking about Pascal Gilcher, also known as Marty McFly in the modding community. And if you've been around PC gaming long enough, especially if you've ever used ReShade or looked into graphical mods that completely transform how older games look, then you already know how big of a deal that name is. This is someone who created one of the most well-known RTGI shaders out there, bringing ray-traced-like global illumination into games that were never designed to have anything like that. His work got so popular that Nvidia themselves ended up integrating it into their own GeForce Experience freestyle filters, which tells you everything you need to know about the level he operates on. This is not just some random opinion from someone on social media. This is someone who understands rendering, understands machine learning, understands the artistic side of graphics, and has even worked with Nvidia in the past. So when he looks at DLSS 5 and says what he says, yeah, it's worth paying attention. And here's the thing that makes his take so interesting from the start. He's not just praising it, and he's not just trashing it either. He straight up says that the technology is impressive. And honestly, that's something most people can agree on. When you look at what DLSS 5 is doing on a technical level, it's hard not to be impressed. The ability to take an image and enhance it in real time using AI, pushing it towards something that looks more realistic, more detailed, more lifelike, that's not something you just shrug off. That takes serious engineering, serious research, and a lot of computational power. But at the same time, he also says that he shares the AI slop sentiment, and that's where things start to get really interesting. Because now, we're not just talking about whether the tech works, we're talking about whether it should work the way it does. What he's essentially pointing out is that systems like the ones likely being used in DLSS 5 are fundamentally built on transformation. They don't just enhance what's already there, they reinterpret it. They take an image that the game engine has produced and try to push it towards something they've been trained to recognize as more real. And that sounds great in theory, but in practice, it creates a very strange contradiction. The AI is supposed to improve the image without being noticeable, but in order to improve it, it has to change things. It has to make decisions about what something should look like, and those decisions aren't always going to line up with the original artistic intent of the game developers. And this is where you start seeing the issues that people have been talking about. Faces that look slightly off, textures that feel like they've been smoothed over in a weird way, lighting that feels a little too perfect, almost like it's been run through an Instagram filter. Gilcher even brings up this idea that the models might be trained using massive data sets that include real-world photos and game screenshots, potentially scraped from all over the internet. And that combination is what leads to that very specific, almost uniform look that starts to appear across different images. It's not that the AI is doing something obviously wrong. It's not that the AI is doing something obviously wrong. It's that it's doing something consistently, and that consistency can actually strip away the uniqueness of how a game is supposed to look. He goes even deeper into how he thinks the system might actually be structured, talking about the possibility of multiple models working together, where one is trained to distinguish between real and fake images, and another is trained to transform game visuals in a way that can fool that first model, and then from there a smaller model is distilled down to run in real time for consumers. And again, from a technical standpoint, that's fascinating. That's cutting-edge machine learning. But from a creative standpoint, it raises a lot of questions. Because now you're not just rendering a game. You're running it through a system that has been trained to reinterpret reality itself. And that leads into what might be the most blunt and most memorable part of his entire take. When he says there is zero elegance in this approach. That it's basically just throwing compute at the problem from every possible angle until something works. And that hits at something much bigger than DLSS 5. That hits at the direction of the entire industry right now. For decades, advancements in graphics have come from clever engineering, from finding smarter, more efficient ways to simulate lighting, shadows, reflections, doing more with less. But now, we're entering an era where the solution is increasingly becoming, just use a bigger model, train it on more data, and let it figure things out. And for someone like Gilcher, who clearly values both the technical and artistic sides of rendering, that's not exciting. In fact, he outright says that he finds a lot of modern AI development to be boring, not because it's not impressive, but because it lacks that sense of elegance, that sense of understanding exactly why something works and how to refine it. Instead, it feels like we're just experimenting in the dark, hoping that more data and more compute will eventually get us where we want to go. And that's a very different philosophy compared to the traditional evolution of graphics technology. Now, to be clear, this doesn't mean DLSS 5 is bad, and it doesn't mean it's going to ruin gaming overnight. What it does mean is that we're at a turning point. We're starting to blur the line between rendering an image and generating one, between what the developers created and what the AI thinks it should look like. And that's a conversation that's only going to get louder as this technology continues to evolve and become more widespread. And there's also a bit of irony here that you really can't ignore. Gilcher himself has spent years creating tools that enhance how games look. His RTGI shaders can completely transform the lighting of a scene, making older games look far more modern than they ever did at launch. But the key difference is that his work operates within the framework of the original image. It enhances what's already there without fundamentally redefining it. DLSS 5, on the other hand, might be stepping beyond that boundary, and that's where things start to feel a little uncomfortable for a lot of people. So at the end of the day, what we're looking at here is not just a debate about one piece of technology. This is a debate about the future of visuals and gaming. Are we okay with AI stepping in and making creative decisions? Are we okay with games being altered in ways that might not always align with the original vision? Or do we want to preserve that connection between the developer's intent and what we actually see on screen? There isn't a simple answer to that, and that's exactly why this discussion is so important. Now, I want to hear what you think about all of this. Do you see DLSS 5 as the future, something that's going to push gaming to new heights? Or do you agree with the idea that this could lead to a kind of AI slop era where everything starts to look the same? Let me know down in the comments, because this is one of those topics where the community really shapes how these technologies are received and how they evolve moving forward. And if you enjoyed this video and want to see more deep dives like this, make sure to give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads. It really helps the channel grow and lets me know you want more content like this. Also, if you want to go even deeper into discussions like this, be sure to check out my Patreon. The latest exclusive over there is a discussion about whether PCs and Xbox are essentially becoming the same platform. And it's a really interesting conversation that ties into a lot of what we talked about today. Thank you all for watching, and as always, game on.